All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in this important session. It's a pleasure to have some very talented folks joining us as we talk a little bit about the Middle East, which is a very exciting place where there's a lot of wonderful things going on relative to cell and gene therapy. And one important note, I think, is that the first patient, commercial patient for Casgevy, which is the Vertex CRISPR drug, was actually from Saudi Arabia and not from anywhere else in the world. So it is an exciting place. So what we thought we would do today is really, we've got folks from all over the Gulf region and really understand kind of the differences, the different dynamics between the different countries, as well as a lot of the exciting initiatives going on that are relevant to cell and gene therapy. What I thought would be good on introduction, we'll start with Ahmed on the side and just talk a little about, introduce yourself, your role, your company, and maybe a little bit about the country you're, in the region. So start with you and we'll work our way over.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Ahmed Mousa. I'm a physician by training. Today I'm working for one of the family offices in Saudi Arabia. He's one of the family offices that having investment along many sectors, electricity, power, energy. But under the announcement of National Biotechnology Strategy, and it was, some talks, it's going to be announced. So there is an interest already to be part of the GDP of the country, especially, Saudi Arabia under the National Biotechnology Strategy, they announced that they would like to be a hub for biotechnology, global hub by 2040. So this is the aspiration. So for such already, we say that, private should have a rule. This is already the normal business. It shouldn't be everything on the government. So we inspired by the government, and they would like, to be in the front seat already of this industry. So the family, I'm working with the family to build a vertical already for the cell and gene therapy in specific. And it's not surprise because of the prevalence of genetic disorders in the region. If you have domestic flights already, you can see everywhere around you already someone already suffering. It's clear already that it is prevalent. But doing the math and according to the statistics, it's almost, if you do just a calculation, 10 times than the US, 4 times than Europe, and because of consanguinity. So gene therapy, offers already a solution that can help that. So that's why we understand, and one of the transformation plans, for Ministry of Health, that by 2035 to manufacture at least 2 genetic, gene therapy in the country. So if you'd like to capture already 2035 or 2040, we need to start from now. It's a long journey. And really already the ecosystem, already it's not building overnight. And it is effort, collaborative efforts. And this is the point. This is already what we see things. And we see ourselves not only investors as family, we first mover, but catalyst as well already for the ecosystem. So that's what we're doing. The last about the country already by the way, I forget to mention already the name of my family. It's Lafana. By the way, Lafana Lafana, it means come and we can welcome you. It is by Najd, or the central area of the central region of Saudi Arabia. So they are originally already from Najd or from Riyadh region. So Lafana, it is one of the vertical for diversifying the portfolio of Abu Nayyan family. So about the country, actually, sometimes people, outside already, the Middle East, they see all the countries as one, one area, one lump sum. But really, we are very well connected with history, with language, with a lot of things. But at the end of the day, each country has its own peculiarity. Saudi Arabia already is representing around 30% of the business. If we're talking pharmaceutical, normal ones, already 30% of the business already of pharmaceutical for a MENA region, and around 70%, for the normal, small molecules as a reference already, and the monoclonal antibodies from already, I'm talking commercialization, for the GCC countries. And so they are different already, and they are having their own, aspiration. Every country has its own aspiration. So that's about, about the Lafana, about the country, and about myself.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Hala Audi. I'm CEO of Unizima. Unizima was created about 4 years ago as part of a broader group and really standing on the shoulders of all the expertise in biologics that's in Belgium. We're based just south of Brussels. And we created Unizima as a project company with the process expertise, the engineering, the CapEx expertise, and the quality and GMP expertise to really help our clients build biotech sites in emerging markets. And we define emerging markets based on the maturity of the biotech ecosystem, not on the level of development of the economy. And so that has taken us to places such as Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. And I've had the privilege to spend a lot of time in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia mainly, in terms of the GCC. And so very excited to share some of those experiences and the work that we're doing there with the panel. There's a real momentum socially, culturally, politically, economically to diversify from oil and to get into sectors that are going to grow the skills and the wealth of those countries outside of just the sort of oil-based economy. And so it's been really fascinating for me to be part of that journey. But I'll say more later.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Khulood Alsayegh. It's pronounced as Khulood, which means immortality in my language. I am a physician in background and the head of clinical standards and guidelines in Dubai Health Authority. It's a regulatory body. And my role is to develop standards, policies, scope of practices for the health sector, telling them what to do and what not to do. And a lot of that goes in line with stem cell development services and creating the very first standards in the development of stem cells and gene therapy. I'm also sitting on as a member of the federal body group in terms of stem cell services. It's a committee at the federal level which looks into all the applications that come to the country. And I'm also a board member with the new drug establishment in the UAE, which looks into pharmacogenomics and gene therapy and registration of products. A little bit about the UAE and so UAE is like the heartbeat of the region, of the Middle East region. It's interesting because it embodies culture. It embodies a lot of culture in it, but a lot of innovation as well. Opens doors for different countries from around the world. 80% of our population come from different parts of the world. And the multicultural part of it makes it very interesting and it makes the work more collaborative and more like a startup, if you think of it this way. We have a huge genomic project of 700,000 samples reflecting different population from around the world happening in the UAE. I'm excited to speak more about it throughout the panel, and I'll just leave it for.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Fatma Alhashimi, also from United Arab Emirates. My name is not very special. Fatma, you can find 90% of the ladies in UAE are Fatma, so don't get confused. So I come from the private sector. As a local UAE, our leaders encourage us to take care of the private sectors too. In collaboration and support of Dubai Health Authority, the government, we are establishing and helping the investors to open their innovation and bring it to the United Arab Emirates. So we have a first stem cell genomic lab. It's the first good manufacturing practice, GMP, where we manufacture cells. So if there is investors or scientists would like to do clinical trials in United Arab Emirates looking for an ISO certified lab, we are there. We are only 1.5 years old. And we are now got the international accreditation certifications to be able to do clinical trial within United Arab Emirates. So we are very proud that this door is starting opening. With the help of Dubai Authority, we started regulating this kind of therapies. And I feel like Dubai is a central hub for so many scientists and researchers and investors who are really looking forward to get a good fund and at the same time bringing the technology and innovation. We are very much supported by our leaders, and we look forward to answer your questions and how to be in the Dubai market.
Great, thank you. So maybe we'll start kind of across the value chain where the opportunities are, and maybe a good place to start, Fatma, is thinking about a company has a product ready for clinical trials.
Yeah.
How does one think through the regulatory process, whether in UAE or KSA or different regions, and how does one sort of go through that process so that you can actually begin to manufacture in say, Dubai?
So it depends on what's the stage is the product. For example, some of them are still in phase 1, phase 2, then you have to do a clinical trials to be an approved product. However, some of them comes with already a ready approved product by FDA, then you need to register it in MOH, which is the Ministry of Health, which manages the entire United Arab Emirates, which is Khulood can go further as a regulator in these topics. But when we build the GMP, the idea is that when the investors comes, they don't need to build a new lab, just to do a clinical trials or to approve a product. Then they have a GMP lab that is established, accredited. We can provide them as a service that they can manufacture the cells and go through clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And a lot of them are interested to test diseases that is already in the market of the UAE, the famous diseases like thalassemia. We are one of the really high patient with thalassemia, also sickle cell anemia, leukemia, I think is all around the world. So they are having really an amazing studies that they want to test it and do the clinical trial within this region. And actually having a GMP certified lab within Dubai, it's a central for all the Gulf region too. So like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Bahrain, they all looking forward to manufacture the cells and do clinical trials in Dubai. And Dubai is a medical hub and it's a strategic place that can provide high services also for so many individuals who have really lived and saw the standard that we are providing as a service. So I think any patient would enjoy being part of clinical trial at the same time, the services that we provide in the United Arab Emirates.
That's great. And Hala, you sort of looking pan from a regulatory perspective. Obviously, some countries have pretty well-established regulatory regimes, others don't. How do you see it across the region?
Ooh, there's such a big diversity. If you think sort of outside the Gulf, you have, I'd say, Turkey, Algeria, Egypt, who are both big in population and quite advanced in terms of pharma manufacturing, introducing products. And so the pathway there is quite, is relatively settled, but it's very national. So you really need approval, domestically. And then you have the Gulf region where the regulatory authorities are really, really, and Khulood, Dr. Khulood will be really well placed to talk about it, an acceleration in the level of knowledge, including on the most advanced biologics, including cell and gene therapies. And the systems have understood very quickly that these therapies will need regulators first to understand them in order to bring them along. But I would say, and I'd love to hear more examples, it's still early days. There's still a lot of work to do them, but the system is there and ready to receive it, basically. So it's like completely necessary to engage. And I know we heard from Emma Cook yesterday, and she said, every regulator says you need to engage early with us, but I think it's never as true as in those systems.
Yeah, maybe just Khulood, from your perspective, you obviously on the front lines here. How have you seen it evolve over the last few years now that these new cell and gene therapies are starting to come into the region?
I mean, it's been evolving quite fast, I think, in our region. Just to give a little bit of a setting for how things work in the UAE. So the UAE is a small country with 7 different emirates, but we are regulated with 2 or 3 different authorities. Abu Dhabi, which is the capital, has its own healthcare authority. Dubai has its own, that's where I'm working. And then there is the federal body, which is the Ministry of Health, which overlooks everything and is responsible for the Northern Emirates, the 5 other Emirates. And each authority has its own responsibilities. For example, the Ministry of Health is where you register a ready product that is approved by FDA. And this is moving or shifting to the FDA equivalent body, which is called the Emirates Drug Establishment. And it's in the early stages of that shift in order to look after these processes. How do we talk together? We have our different regulations. Abu Dhabi is a little bit more advanced. It has the Stem Cell Center, which have been doing a lot of research driven by CRISPR technology, particularly in areas that Dr. Fatma has mentioned, such as thalassemia and sickle cell disease, which is a very common genetic disorders that we have in our country. And we also have a lot of interest with osteoarthritis, frailty, and preventive diseases as well. And then moving into the Dubai Health Authority is where you would register if you want to provide the services within the Dubai. So opening a service that provides stem cell therapy application, storage, processing. This would have to go through Dubai Health Authority through a licensing process. Once you apply, the different authorities communicate and talk together through a committee, which I'm a member in. So I represent the Dubai Health Authority in that committee. We discuss these services that are coming to the country and we approve them. So let's say, for example, you are approved in Abu Dhabi to be doing phase 1 of clinical trials. The chances of you getting approved in Dubai is quite high because you've been approved with one authority and you can continue the phase 2 trial then in Dubai or equally in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So we kind of talk to each other. In terms of the question to how we develop very fast, things has always been the way that the UAE embraces technology, embraces new treatments and new services. We always open the door no matter what. If there is a regulation or not, we can touch base with our service providers and decide, yes, this is going to work as a one-to-one basis. And then now that we develop the standards, we've opened the door even further, ensuring obviously patient safety comes first. But again, clarifying the routes, if it is going to be a clinical trial, what are the requirements? If this is going to be a service provider, what are the requirements? If this is going to be establishing a lab, what are the requirements? What kind of partnerships you need? What kind of services that you're going to be providing, and would this need to be approved by other bodies, for example, the ethical committee or not, or would this need to be some sort of partnership with an existing facility in the UAE, or is it going to be a training service? And at the moment, our focus in the UAE is to train professionals within the stem cell services to ensure that they are providing the best services possible. And we are in the process of strengthening the clinical trial services that we have. So creating different standards just to support industries that want to provide clinical services, both for autologous and recently allogenic services in stem cells.
Thank you. So you can see there's infrastructure is there from a regulatory perspective. Maybe Ahmed, on the Saudi FDA, any comments on sort of how it looks in KSA?
Yeah, I will split already the regulatory already services in two parts. One regarding the clinical operation, and the part regarding already the approval. So I'll start first with the approval, because it's an interesting point already for global expansion. Just to set the ground about Saudi Arabia, Gulf countries already, they are among the first market for the biopharma for accessing medicine because of the privilege of price parity with country of origin, even before Europe. So you have the same price as the US. This is the visible price. So this is fantastic. So this is number one about the pricing, because the regulatory authority, they are not like US FDA. They put the price, they control the price. So before already with the certificate, registration certificate. So this is already from the approval part. So how long it takes to approval already? It almost 30 to 60 days till approval to be in the market. So if already but it follows already. You don't need any clinical trial to be done already in the country already for EMA, SFDA, US FDA, or MHRA approved. So if you have one, you have 60 days. If you have both, already you have 30 days. There is another track for approval, which is called, breakthrough approval. Breakthrough approval is an interesting one, because actually if you have your asset already late stage in BLA, you can start the commercialization already in the country, but supported with a case that truly it fits with unmet medical need. Within no time you have the product already in the market commercialized. So this is already from the approval point of view. From clinical already, clinical operation. Of course, already this is one of the target already for the government already to increase, because according to IQVIA data, if you look already, the contribution of the clinical trials already of Saudi Arabia from the global, it's 0.2, while from the sales 0.7. It's a reverse already, if compared with France, UK, Germany. Always you say that already the double contribution for the clinical trial if compared with the overall sales contribution. This attracts the attention for the government, especially already when we would like, to go for more intervention clinical trials. Most of the, of biopharma, they perform phase 4 real-world evidence, phase 3 as a part of preparation of the market access, but not early stage. We'd like, to see more phase 1, phase 2 contribution. I mean that you can do in parallel, but today we'd like to be part of, big, multi-center. And really, when I talked with the CROs, the global CROs, they are not putting already the Middle East in the map. Sometimes it's expensive. They say that already, of course, if we are including sites, it will be expensive. And we had the discussion on this before. So the point here, how already the CROs, this is the problem. Again, we talked about the changes already, or having the extra mile. Sometimes you have some challenges about convincing. But now, if you put already, the Middle East already in the panel, it's there, especially already in the area of gene therapy. And we talked about the genetic disorders, and it represents a really good part of of really the global pain already on those devastating diseases. So I will save already some time already for talking about the clinical development, which is not related to regulation, but really already for the clinical trial, we have the fast access because actually we'd like to enroll already fast the patients. The contract already, it's done fast. And the most important, you find the patient because actually, you can find them, you can already reach them. The doctors already know the patient, know the family already even. So patients are there. So, that by such environment, that in Saudi Arabia and already in Middle East, you can find the patient, you can expedite your clinical trial.
Well, thank you. Yeah, one of the pieces that's fascinating to me, and you alluded to this, is the rare diseases in the region are actually much less rare than they are in, say, United States and Europe for various reasons. And I think maybe we can talk a little bit about that because I think it is an untapped opportunity both on the clinical trial side but also commercially to really provide these therapies there. But maybe we could start with Hala and sort of have what you're seeing sort of in the region in this space because there's clearly a tremendous unmet need.
So there's a lot to say. I'll focus on what we're doing and my direct experience. I would say that what will work is to, as a company, whatever angle we're working in, is to really play on the strength of what the system has to offer. And for me, starting with building the muscle for CRO and clinical trial is absolutely the priority because the rest will evolve, and I'm starting to see that. And there's excellent hospitals and university hospitals, and so the infrastructure is there. So that's one. Then there's stuff that isn't really there. So the GMP manufacturing, the very complex manufacturing, you've established the first stem cell lab. It's starting, but it's not completely there yet. So what I'm looking for is areas where you can see a leapfrog effect, where you don't say we're going to go through the pain of what everybody has gone already and recreate and copycat something that's ahead of us somewhere else. Instead, play on the strengths. So ways to leapfrog. One is the amazing genomics and sequencing ability in the region and the access to patient data and the access, and that's sad, but it is the reality, the access to this big pool of rare diseases and patients who have a need. And then the other leapfrog opportunity that we work on is RNA. Because so I work within Univercel's group. Our tech company, Quantum, has developed a really barrier lowering for RNA research and development and manufacturing. And you can see how this doesn't require the kind of investment that's required for cell growth. And one example that I think is interesting, one of our most promising program that is just starting would be in animal health. And in Saudi Arabia, we're seeing a lot of interest. So there is very high value animals, including camels and horses, that have very complex diseases. And we're quickly starting to see opportunities to do RNA cancer vaccines for animals like that. And that's really exciting for a biotech like us. So if you look for not just replicating something that exists, but look for enough for what will work in the context, I think there's huge opportunities.
Just on the animal side, I mean, For those who aren't aware, there's a tremendous amount of money that's put into horses and camels in the region for racing and other pieces. And I don't know if you guys have any comments from a UAE perspective on sort of the opportunity within the animal health space, which is completely unique, I think, in many ways. So I don't know if either of you have a thought on it from a...
I mean, yeah, we do have a camel hospital. And this is how actually I met Dr. Fatma during a session where we were discussing results of trials that were done on using mesenchymal cells and injecting the knees of camels with arthritis, and then seeing the tremendous results where camels that were not able to walk are able to race again. And this particular sport is very much valid in the UAE, and it's very much appreciated. And it's actually the regulatory process of getting approved for animals, strangely enough, is quite simpler and easier in our region than with humans. The same company that was working with the animals is actually recently published on the news, is now moving into human trials treating osteoarthritis in humans, and they're currently in phase 2 trials. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Anything to add to that?
So I'll go back with the first question before I talk about the animals, about the rare diseases in the United Arab Emirates. I would like to highlight that thalassemia is one of the really rare diseases that is happening, and so many patients still suffering. And I think that there are different sources to treat thalassemia that is approved by FDA, which is hematopoietic stem cells that comes from bone marrow and that comes from wart and jelly stem cells. So the interesting part that if you look at the National Bone Marrow Registry, we as a Middle East not registered, and we don't have a public donation. So one of the aims that we do in a first stem cell genomics, we have opened a public donation, so instead of the mothers, the pregnant woman who does not want to cryopreserve it as a family banking, she can donate it for free to be part of this national registry. And I think if you think about it, UAE has different nationalities, so creating such a registry of donating such a treasure of sample, I call it treasure of life, and helping these patients to find a match donor is really important. So I was really surprised when I had a meeting with the US and National Bone Marrow Registry that 2% only been listed the Middle East of a donation of the stem cells. And I thought the reason why it's because of the lack of awareness, and we are a very young region, and we need to do more campaigns, more awareness to educate the people or the pregnant women. If you don't want to keep it for yourself due to the budget, then I think it's the best way is to donate it rather than throwing it away in the garbage. And we know that it has hematopoietic stem cells that can treat more than 80 blood diseases. One of them is one of the diseases that we are suffering from in the region, which is thalassemia. Another thing, if the ethnicity, how it plays an important role in this, because if the donors are locals from the UAE themselves donating for each other, then the high percentage of having a match with the ethnicity background is really higher due to the, like a donor that is a different ethnicity, the sub-alleles might be different, even though if there is a 100% match. So I think this is really an important thing that we are focusing in First Time Genomics, even though we are a private company, but we are owned by His Highness. That's why we work very closely to create this public donation where you are donating these samples to the entities and helping the patient in need. Going back to the camel and horses, this is really the owners of camels are very much interested in the arthritis diseases. And we know that it's in our culture. We have a lot of respect to camels and horses, and camels are, who are racing a lot, suffering from a lot of pain in their knee. And we are, as First Time Genomics, we started the clinical trial using wart and jelly stem cells from the baby camels to inject it into the camel's knee. So that was a very interesting, really trials. We know that stem cells that comes from wart and jelly are baby stem cells, only 9 months old. Sorry, the age of the, depends on the camel, is almost 13 months, I think. So, but it's a baby stem cells. So we are working very closely now on, we have injected camel number 4 now. and we are looking forward to complete the study to see and compare the knee of the camel before injection and after, and see how it is really developing and healing. And I'm sure the owners of these camels are very much interested with the result, and they're looking forward to have an approved product from martingale stem cells to inject these camels.
Fantastic, thank you. And so I think one of the other big questions is, obviously there's a lot of oil money, right, in the region. Yeah. And the question is, as a company, how do you even start? Where do you go? Because there's many sovereign wealth funds, even in UAE, there's it's a sort of alphabet soup of things. There's the EIA, which is the Emirati Investment Authority, Audi, the similar in Saudi Arabia, there's many. And how can a company think about that versus all the family offices on how do you begin to navigate? And we'll start with Ahmed on your perspectives.
It's a tough question. Okay, so I'll tell you already the history and the reality. The history, most of companies, they are looking for the fund. They come to the government and looking for for fund directly already. They acted the same way they are doing and raising fund in the U.S., like approaching venture capital and the others, or banks or whatsoever. So the point, here, if you'd like already to be there, you need two things. Number one, you cannot already do it, just already visit the asset and would like, to invest because how many companies already in the cell and gene therapy, for instance, yesterday they showed it in the US, 1,200, almost plus, right? So I mean that big number of startups there. So the point is you'd like to come with a project already or the proposal that fit for the purpose of the national biotechnology strategy and do it in partnership already, and to say that I would like to stay because actually, I would like to be part of your fabric in the building the ecosystem. And this needs patience. Sometimes already, you need to just as I explained already before, it's like fine-tuning, the culture difference. You need to take time, give time to reach this point. So, I mean, this is already the point, and really already, if we run through the last already 3 or 4 years, we can see already how things, people, they're coming out of the Middle East, say that, Middle East is a little bit complicated, let's keep it aside. Now it's the time to go, because actually there's an opportunity, but how to, to have, the key. This is number one. Number two, again, it's, we look for the government. I met a lot of, my network. They said that, don't waste your time with the family offices or the private because actually they are going to waste your time. They are on the old days already, of Saudi Arabia, that government doing everything, which is not the case today. And we can see not only in Saudi Arabia, even already, for the private, which, I can see already for Dubai as well. So the point here, family offices now play a very important role. And if you see already, the family office, the family offices component for the economy, actually they are a good part of the economy, but not in the life science area. Most of them, they are, they invest as a part of de-risking already for venture capital, but not for purpose, or from friends and and the family, but small check size, but not a structured way. Now, if you have the same approach, you approach toward the government, the same with family offices, and having this kind of formula, between public-private partnership, this would work, and it needs already patience, and it needs some time to be there and to continue already explaining because. The US and Europe already passed through already years of already of the ecosystem, but we are at its nascence, and we need to understand that. You are right. You'd like already to have this frog leap already instead of starting from genetics to the area of innovation. We are ready, but still we need to understand how to manage it, and we need already this full partnership to reach this kind of agreement. So this is what I advise how to navigate already for the funding already in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think it's interesting is I spent a lot of time over there the last year, and there's been an evolution from historically it was more just traditional investment looking at return, but now almost every fund you talk to or family office mentions the local angle. Like, what is this going to do to benefit or build something within the country or the region? So I don't know if you have any perspectives from sort of the Dubai perspective on
Very
investment.
similar to what Ahmed has mentioned, and that partnership between the private and the public is quite crucial. And I see a lot of companies that come my way for approval always have some sort of investment through the private sector and bringing that into the public sector. We do encourage a lot of trials, particularly in the region, to have a proof of concept in the UAE, even if it's a ready product, because it's more relevant to our market. And one thing I wanted to mention earlier as well, in terms of encouraging trials in the UAE, we have a connected EMR system, electronic medical system, so that wherever a patient might go from one hospital to another or one clinic to another within the Emirate, it's all connected together, therefore having a pool of data that can be used for research. And this would include hospitals, academia, and the patient himself. So bringing this into the market with the right partner, either a hospital or a GMP facility such as the one Dr. Fatma has, and having that collaboration would facilitate the growth of a certain technology that they want to bring into the country or clinical trials.
So Fatma, please.
So when it comes to the fund, I don't know if you have heard about Future Museum Foundation. They are one of the really supported, amazing, with a big amount of fund for very promising projects. And we know that fund is one of the risks that a country is giving to an investor or a researcher who would like to do a study. So from my experience, what I've seen, if the project is promising, I mean, any project will have a risk, even if it is 100% maybe can be treatable. But taking this risk is about the government is looking at how the feasibility study being done, how promising, what's the return on investment, what's the profit can be done, how it can be a win-win situation on the both parties. But when it comes to the fund, we really have an amazing fund with the United Arab Emirates, especially from organizations like Future Museum is one of them. They really, if you go to their website, they fund big projects with amazing ideas that can drive innovation into the country. And we feel that this is an opportunity for whoever is, especially within trial phase 3, that looking for approving the product, because when you are in trial 3, you are already spent a lot of money until you reach to this stage, and this was more interesting to be accepted, to be able to facilitate then the product and manufacturing it within the country to distribute it in the market and treat. So there are a lot of promising funds. I encourage actually its
drug establishment as well. Emirates drug establishment is still in early stages, but this is one of the stems that they want to provide, is to support as a funding body as well for research purposes, particularly within the pharma industry. And then we have also Mohammed bin Rashid Foundation, where they would also support in new emerging technologies, and especially if it is also AI driven. We've seen the combination or the marriage between AI and drug development, or AI and stem cell therapy, and how that can accelerate. This is something that the country is very much interested in as well.
Yeah, thank you. And Hala, you any perspective on sort of the differences you've seen? Because you've sort of been sort of related investors in both worlds, and how you see the differences between, say, the European investors versus the Middle East?
Yeah, I think in the Middle East and in the Gulf, I'm going to echo what's been said. You cannot go anymore with the mentality of, you have lots of oil money, I'm going to take it and bring it back to Belgium or Singapore or California and play with it. And the reason why it won't work is because you're still better off with venture capital, because venture capital firms are still better able to assess the risk and make an informed investment into the kind of companies that this room is composed of. So you have to go with a story of I'm going to participate in the investment in your country, and that is, even just to open the door, you need to do that. Then once you've passed that door, what I found, and I'm going to be a bit frank, and it's with a lot of friendship for this community and the region, which is my region, then you've entered the door, then the problem is the expectations that are political versus the commercial reality, there's a gap. Honestly, this gap, I worked in the UK government for a very long time. there's always this gap with politicians, and you go after announcements and big vision, and then it's our job to marry the objectives with the commercial reality. And that's where I think it's a mistake to just pander a bit to whatever the person in front of you wants to hear. The useful conversation for everyone is one where you say, no, actually, you have the best AI systems in the world. You've already invested in all of that. You have excellent hospitals. And so why don't we focus on this niche? And it might not be the mega budget that you had in mind. It might be smaller, but at least it'll work out. This would be my...
Well, thank you. I know we're almost at time. I think it's clear there's a tremendous opportunity there, and I think it's important to really keep in mind that it takes time, and it takes collaboration. And I've been impressed as I've gone over just the people are wonderful, lovely, welcoming, and a lot of excitement for this type of therapies that can really fundamentally change the lives of so many of these patients. So I think it's an exciting time. So with that, we'll close this session out, and I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you.